Hi everyone, I'm Professor Tech and welcome to the updated 2024 guide on the top 5 things new Steam Deck owners should definitely do when they get their new, flashy, sexy Steam Deck. Everything mentioned in this guide applies to both the Steam Deck OLED and the original Steam Deck Classic in order to make it awesome and comfortable for you. Just like our sponsor, FlexiSpot C7 Ergonomic Chair. More on them in a bit, but now, let's jump in. The Steam Deck released to mass critical and commercial acclaim in the late spring of 2022, and since then it has taken the gaming community by storm. It introduced a whole new crowd of people to the joys and blunders of PC gaming in a streamlined console-like experience that has only continued to improve since its release. It took PC gaming from something that's confined to a desktop or a clunky chunky laptop setting and made it comfortable to do from just about anywhere. In a prior version of this video from a little over a year ago, I dove into 5 things I thought any new user of Steam Deck should do when they first get their unit after I had been using the device consistently for about a year at that time. Now that it's been over 2 years and received tons of updates, my list has changed quite a bit, especially with multiple versions of the Steam Deck now out and in the world. There are now more options for first and third party accessories, and by the way, make sure to get subscribed since I made and will continue to make new content of that sort. Some of these suggestions are freebies that you can download right now and start toying with, while others are some paid accessories that would be worth checking into if you're in the market for a solid expanded Steam Deck experience. So with that said, let's move on to the 5 things you can do in 2024 to improve your Steam Deck experience as a newbie. But first, a message from our sponsor, FlexiSpot. The C7 Ergonomic Chair is one of FlexiSpot's flagship office chair offerings. Featuring a wealth of comfort and adjustability options, it's one of the best office chairs I've owned so far. It features a self-adaptive dynamic system that adjusts its lumbar support to your posture as you move around to ensure a constant support, something that someone like me who spends 10 hours a day at a computer really appreciates. I've incorporated a lot of methods to help with back pain, and honestly, my poor posture, like standing desks and low-profile treadmills, I can use while at work, but most of the day I want to be comfortable and know my back will thank me for making good purchase decisions. The C7 is designed to complement a variety of postures and leave you feeling supported, while reducing spinal and sciatic pressure on your back, waist, and hips. And while I'm a bit too large of a person to have this do it for me, the 20-inch seat also provides space for some people to even sit cross-legged in the seat. And the separate and dynamic lumbar support cushion is a great addition for those that want to lean forward when working. And depending on your preferred seating material, the C7 also comes with both mesh and foam seat options. On FlexiSpot's website, there's even a nifty graph that might be able to help you figure out which one to decide is best for you. On this channel, we like to talk stats and performance, so I'm happy to say that the C7 Ergonomic Chair has been tested over 120,000 times for armrest durability, 8,000 times for static load testing, 120,000 times for cyclic pneumatic height adjustment durability tests, and 98,000 times for caster durability tests. All of this culminates in the prestigious BIFMA testing. The C7 comes in a variety of different color combinations, including black, black and gray, white and black, and white and gray. And as an added bonus, for an additional charge, you can elect to incorporate a footrest for those long gaming sessions, or when you want to kick back and watch new episodes of your favorite show from the comfort of your desk. To check out more features and purchase your own, use the links in the description down below and use the exclusive code C730 to purchase the C7 now and enjoy a $30 discount. It's the best time to buy the C7. Thank you for your sponsorship, FlexiSpot, and now, back to the video. A good quality dock. I've reviewed quite a few docks on the channel over the last year and a half, and while there are literally dozens of options that you can find by simply scrolling Amazon, they are not all created equal. Over the last years, I've had docks malfunction, work intermittently, and some just outright die on me. So, investing in a dock that is reliable and well built is important. From everything that I've gathered, I've found 2 options that are fairly reliable and well reviewed. The first, as is no surprise, is the official Steam Deck dock, featuring both an HDMI 2.0 and a DisplayPort 1.4 set of ports. This allows for maximum flexibility no matter how current your setup. Whether you're replacing a secondary computer using DisplayPort to your TV, or looking for a convenient port swap for another system, having both options is super helpful. Not to mention the additional 3 USB 3.1 ports and USB-C pass-through for power, along with an Ethernet jack. This dock has almost everything someone could need. The one downside to this dock is the price. At $80, it is one of the more expensive docks aimed at the Steam Deck user on the market, but it does come with the benefit of receiving official software and firmware updates directly from Valve in real time, ensuring it continues to work with your Steam Deck even when other docks may temporarily or even permanently lose support over time. The other more affordable but still reliable option is the JSOX docking station that features almost all the same features as the official Steam Deck dock, but without the DisplayPort output feature, and instead has USB 3.0 instead of 3.1 ports and only 2 of them to boot. But on the plus side, it is significantly cheaper at only $30 on Amazon. And one additional and very popular option is the Sprint 6-port docking station that is primarily aimed at Steam Deck owners. One major difference between this dock and the previous two is that this does not have an Ethernet port, but it has 2 USB-C ports, one for power delivery and another for data. So if you're someone that keeps some games on a USB-C external hard drive or a flash drive, having the USB input with the increased data transfer rate, it could be a major difference for you. While there are dozens of different docks available both officially and via third parties, it's important to consider which ports are the most important to you and whether or not you feel like dropping a lot of additional cash at this point on the Steam Deck's life cycle. But something that you might be feeling you need more and more of at this point in the Steam Deck life is more memory space. Whether you're a longtime PC gamer and Steam user or someone who's only been using their Steam Deck for a handful of months, something that almost every user runs into at some point is a matter of space. While the more exclusive 1TB special edition Steam Deck does tout a fairly generous amount of space out of the gate, with modern games that disappears pretty quickly, especially if you're hoping to play AAA titles. For example, if you had roughly 20 games in your library at around 40 gigabytes per game, you'd be at 800 gigabytes, leaving only a very small amount of space for the system data. Because as we all know, 1 terabyte never really equals 1 terabyte. Thankfully though, we live in 2024, several years since the Steam Deck's release, and thanks to a lot of competition in both the handheld PC, mobile phone, and micro laptop markets, there has been a huge leap in data capacity for various scales of NVMe drives. So for the low price of around $150, you can get a fairly reliable 2 terabyte NVMe SSD that fits the Steam Deck. This immediately doubles the space of even the most expensive Steam Deck OLED, and it leaves you with a spare 1 terabyte drive to use as a backup drive using an external enclosure after you swap them out. And while in my previous video from last year, there were reasonably priced 1 terabyte micro SD cards, there are now 1.5 terabyte micro SD cards that go on sale from time to time at somewhat reasonable prices. So for between $150 and $300 total dollars, you could have up to 3.5 terabytes of data on the go for your Steam Deck, and that's just mind-blowing at this point. And if you're someone who is still considering a Steam Deck but hasn't bought one just yet, make sure to get subscribed because I'm going to be making a video about the most affordable and most reliable way to get a killer portable handheld PC setup on the cheap. It's never been a better time to consider a reliable and affordable Steam Deck setup. And you know what can be affordable or insanely expensive depending on what your tastes are like? A case. The trouble with buying cases is that they come in so many varieties, and for someone like me who really values not only protection for my devices, but also fantastic ergonomics and something that doesn't cause me to get sensory overload due to a personal condition I live with, it can be really hard. Often I'm left to the winds of chance when I buy a case on whether or not it's going to be something that I actually keep long term. But thankfully, when I decided to invest, and I mean invest, in the Kill Switch case from D brand, which I admit is an investment because I honestly don't know that I've ever spent so much on a grip case for any device that I've ever owned, I was pleasantly surprised and relieved to find that it is not only a convenient case for the amount of travel that I do, but also its grippy texture actually adds to the value of the console outside of just protection. It adds an extra layer of thickness to the console that makes it more comfortable for me to hold long term. And so if you have the kind of thick fingers like I do, it's a huge improvement. But the Kill Switch case is not the only option and definitely not the only method that you can use to protect and customize your case. There are a slew of options available from various retailers online, and there's also the option of skins that you can purchase to provide temporal and surface level protection to your console while also styling it to fit your preferred needs. I have a black, white, and gray color scheme between my office chair and Steam Deck, so I was able able to ensure it comes to fit my aesthetic. I'm not currently sponsored by Dbrand, but their skins are also fantastic, and I've used leather skin on my original Steam Deck for some time now, and I've super enjoyed it. So I can recommend them, and also please Dbrand sponsor me my RG Ally. I could use a kill switch case to make it even easier to transport and play to, and also that would be really cool. And speaking of things that are easier now, EmuDeck. Oh boy, I remember the first time I set up EmuDeck on my Steam Deck and how easy I thought it was at the time. And to be fully fair and transparent, it was really easy. Before EmuDeck, I would often have issues upon setup wherein I'd have to launch the individual emulators to ensure that settings were correct, and often I'd have to tweak things in order to get the best performance possible out of certain systems and in certain games. But now, with the absolute magic that is the emulation community and the people behind EmuDeck, this setup process is more seamless than ever before. When I downloaded EmuDeck onto my Steam Deck OLED back in November, I thought I'd have to go through that entire process again, but much to my delight, I have yet to need to adjust any settings for any of the consoles that I've emulated so far, with one big exception, that being of course now the defunct Yuzu, which Nintendo struck down within the last few months. While there are definitely alternative emulators that are still available, including things like Ryujinx, that are still up and running and don't appear to have the same small bit of data that allowed Nintendo to tackle Yuzu effectively, it does have its issues here and there with running some titles, especially on the Steam Deck, of which I'm not going to show you here because, well, I don't want my channel to get copy striked for any reason. So far, emulating and playing PlayStation 2 titles has easily been my favorite thing to do. Playing old games like Mortal Kombat Deception along with the Jak and Daxter series has been so much fun to me, and it's given me both the sense of nostalgia and completion. Much to the chagrin of video game lovers everywhere, I only played and finished Ocarina of Time for the first time this last year, and while not a PS2 title, it allowed me to finally cross the highest rated game of all time off my list. Speaking of highest rated games, if you'd like to see me break down my top games that you have to get and play on your Steam Deck right now, leave a comment down below and let me know which games you think deserve to be on that list. And mentioning specific games, use per game profiles. One of the most underrated features of the Steam Deck, and especially the Steam Deck OLED, is the ability to configure per game profiles for performance and battery life expansion. While on the first version of the Steam Deck, this was mostly used as a method to work around performance issues by creating a more stable frame rate, which is still very much a reality on the OLED model, the added benefit of a 90 Hz refresh rate and increased performance due to better cooling and other updates leaves room for new reasons to use a per game profile. Have a game that runs okay at 80 and 90 FPS, but you have to lock down the image quality, bump it back up with those shaders and set the frame rate to 60. You'll get a passable frame rate, especially for a handheld, and an overall better image overall. Have a game you used to run at 60 with a decent graphical settings, but you'd love to get that extra 30 FPS for its fast-paced style, crank down the graphic settings and up that frame rate. And rather than doing it globally, set it for just that one game so that you can apply that to different titles in the way that makes those titles work for you. I don't need to crank down the graphical settings in Ori and the Will of the Wisps. I love the game, but like 300 frames per second is too much. I know this is kind of a duh to many people, but several friends of mine will generally edit their global settings because they are constantly switching between different games with different demands, and they feel it's not worth the extra step of making it a per game profile. But if you plan on reopening a game more than once, it takes the extra few steps and seconds to set a particular set of parameters for each of your games. That way the Steam Deck can go back to being a console-like experience where everything is set up for you, well, by you in this instance, and enjoying the games smoothly. It would be pretty great if there were a pre-made power profile just for Steam Deck built into games somehow. Some games like Cyberpunk have features like this built in, but it would be amazing to start seeing it made standard across all games, even if it was something more generic like a handheld graphics mode. That way everything from the Steam Deck to the RG Ally could be more pick up and play functionally for less chronically online players like us. We gotta give some to our new friends too. While there are many more things that you should do as a new Steam Deck owner, these are the 5 that I I think as a new purchaser, you should consider adding onto your to-do list sooner rather than later. And with some of them even being free, there's no better time than now. Let me know in the comments below what other lists you'd like me to make, and perhaps one for the ROG Ally, or maybe even one for a smaller portable handheld like the devices created by companies like Ambernick. Whatever it may be, make sure to like and subscribe, and don't forget to use the links below to check out a FlexiSpot C7 for yourself and use code C730 to save $30. I love you all, and I hope you have an amazing week. Bye!